Okay, we will start now, sir. So next, uh, after today's class in the evening, maybe around 8 o'clock, will it be fine? So I can actually give a question for the quiz, and you will have about half an hour to go through it and then submit by 8:30 in the night. So we will have it that way. It will be proctored, so you will all have to connect. I will send a Zoom link, or yeah, you are actually less than 30 people, so we can do it on Telegram itself. So on Telegram itself, you can actually start your uh, video, so we can have a look at you while you are actually solving it. And after solution, you scan it and send it over Telegram itself, or you send it over the app. So the app which you have all installed, so I will actually put the paper there, which will open up at 8 o'clock. And for some of you who don't have that app, or that if the app that does not work, I will also share it on a Telegram channel. Okay, so you can see at 8 o'clock in the night and do it for half an hour and submit within half an hour. So roughly it takes 15 to 20 minutes. 10 minutes are there good enough to scan and submit. So you can submit over the app, and alternatively you can send it actually over Telegram. Both are fine. Okay, so app is our own app, so we are testing it. So if once we are satisfied with the performance, then we'll actually kind of open it up for anybody actually. Okay, so then be available to anyone. Okay, after that, so let's start. Let's see where we were. So we were actually looking at essentially distributed hash table, the algorithm. Okay, about the chord, how that actually operates. So I will just update. This is the updated version of uh, the same slides which I was using earlier. So I normally keep on updating the slides after the lecture and keep on annotating on that while teaching. Okay, based on whatever I have taught, I will update and I will keep on sharing the updated version. Okay. So yeah, this was the one of the problems which I discussed last time. Okay. If a node fails, what happens is a normal hashing. So modulo 5 is, for example, one possible thing. Or you can take sum of digits, okay, or whatever hash ID is representing, and then you can keep on doing summation iteratively again and again and again till you find out one single digit, and that can be your node ID. Okay. But then in that case, we are actually assuming there are actually at least 10 nodes. So you have to somehow create a map. So map has to be from any kind of uh, a possible key range. So if you have a possible key range, I will be able to map it to some finite space. So one number which is the representing the nodes which are existing. But this actually had a problem. Okay, if one node dies off, then everything has to be rearranged again and again. So what could be the solution? So you are looking at that. So then, of course, we have come up with something called consistent hashing. Okay, and the problem is when our network grows up, becomes very large. What is going to happen is yeah. So what is going to happen is there will be large number of nodes. So some will be all the time leaving, some of them will be all the time joining, and rearrangement will become a massive problem. There will be huge traffic only because of the rearrangement of key value pairs. It was not a good idea actually. So you cannot operate with that kind of DHT. So we use a different kind of mechanism. Okay. Here I am not currently talking about anything related to cryptographic hash. Okay. So I am not worried about that as of now. So we still have the nodes, but nodes now can be randomly numbered in the node ID space. Okay, remember I had told you earlier, say that the nodes will be placed somewhere here. Okay, this is a randomly placed node IDs. So any hash ID will be point in this point. So whichever is the closest guy, that will be responsible node. And this responsible node we call as a root node. So this term root node we will keep on using. Okay. We have, for example, here earlier we were using 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have done away with this. For simplicity's sake, I am taking only 0 to 31 as the node ID range. But truly speaking, I may not be actually using 0 to 231. We are using 160 bit node ID. Last time I had told about this. So my node ID space is extremely large. Okay, 2 raised power 160. You can use 256 bit also, 1024 also. That will still become you get extremely sparse. Okay, which is good for the system. Okay, there will be more uniform loading because of the more granularity in the distribution of the hash IDs. So, but this is a very small, so that I can do it here. And we have to define. Now remember, we are actually storing key and values. So there is always going to be some key. So for example, your email ID. So my email ID is going to be here. This will be the key with which you are going to search. So you can actually call me, make a phone call through this, or you want to have my phone number. So you can decide. So my office phone number is 7944. So I need to now give my machine's IP address where my IP phone is running. Okay, its port number, or maybe its transport with which you are going to connect to me. So I'm going to give a signaling channel endpoint here, we call it. Okay. So you can now talk to me over this, and then we can set up a media call. This is a signaling channel endpoint. So we have to do even mutual authentication with respect to each other. I have not described that, but we'll come to this. Okay. So this is the key and this is the value. So if my phone number changes because I am connected on Wi-Fi and I am moving around in the campus, my IP address keeps on changing. Okay. So every time this changes, I am going to update this thing in my DHT. So in DHT, you will be actually, because we are not removing the entry. Normally in our design, we are not deleting any entry, we only update. And every entry has an expiry time after it is being created. So they will automatically, older entries will keep on getting removed. So you will look at the latest entry of mine, and based on that you will call. You can verify it is created by me because there is no SIP server here which is authenticating by password. I have to use a digital signature also at this. Okay. So you will be knowing my public key. I have not explained again this security stuff, but with that you will be able to verify. So nobody else can update my record. Okay, only I can update my record. You will be able to figure it out. So we'll come back to this thing later on, but these key value pairs are what are stored here with various nodes. Okay, when I am talking about these numbers being stored, these are the keys, and there is going to be corresponding value. So there is some key has been identified by a numeric identifier. Okay, so what you do is you can actually put anything. It can be any random string of any size. Can be put any random string. In fact, I should not call it random. Any string, random, non-random, both. Okay. Any string of any size, you can put, can be there in the as an input. You have a hash function, and this hash function will give you a hash value. So it shall be 160 bit numeric ID in our B4 design. Okay. In this case, we are looking into say modulo 5 numbering, so 5 bit. Sorry, only 0 to 5 numbers can be there. Only 5 possibilities. Revised design for consistent hashing is 0 to 31. So I will require only 5 bits here. Okay. So all 5 ones will be 31. All 5 bits will be 0 is 0. So each node now has to be given an ID in this same. I'm just using the same concept. and we have got this. Okay. Now, last time there was a suggestion that we can use modulo space. The moment I do it, it is possible to do it. Okay, I can have a linear map. There is no fold over. So this folding over I have actually introduced, but you can actually maintain a DHT even without this fold over. You don't need this fold over. Okay, this is not required. Okay, so you just find out the closest node. So 0 to, for example, whatever will be halfway in between this. So that value will be proximity to 0, rest everything. So this range will go with 9, this range will go with this thing. So I have given the ranges here and with which nodes they will be stored. If there is some value which is equidistant from both, you can actually have a tie breaking rule. So you can have a tie breaking rule. So lowest of the two nodes can actually be used. This is a linear arrangement which is possible. It is not used actually. We use this in a different sense in pastry algorithm. Okay, so but pastry is using a fold over. Okay, so let's find out how the rearrangements will happen. So this is the current system which we have. So we have 0, 9, 12, 21, 27, 31. These are the same, some randomly picked up again keys. So these are basically hash IDs. These are not the keys. So when you take any key, pass it through hash function, what you get is a hash ID, and this hash ID is the point in the space. So this is those hash IDs actually. So I should write these are hash IDs. Okay. So 25 is closest to 27. So I put it there. So all these red numbers are corresponding. So you can verify. 10 is going to be closest to 9 because there is difference of 1. Here it is difference of 2. Okay. 2 is going to be closest to 0. 5 is going to be closest to 9. 9 minus 5 is 4. Okay. 5 minus 0 is 5. Okay. So it goes to 9. 4 will go with 0. Okay. It is 5 distance away from 9, but 4 distance away from 0. So 3 will go to 0, 15 will go to 12, 12 will go to 12 and so on. But now suppose this 12 dies off or it exits. Okay. So what is happening is these nodes need not change their number. So you don't need a renumbering. That's a good thing. That's what was creating the problem earlier. Renumbering is not required. Renumbering not needed. See, which was the problem in the normal hashing. So now what happens to these guys? So these will still remain closest to these. Their closeness will not change for the already existing key value pairs with other nodes. Only the node which has failed, those entries have to migrate. Again, there will be a question, if this node dies off, all these entries are lost, how they can migrate? We will have a method for that. Okay. So we have to figure out a way. So I will ask you people to find out a way for that. So we can actually arrange the same thing in cyclic fashion, 0 to 31. So I can count from 0, 9, 12, 21, 27, 31 and 0. And then I can use same modulo of n minus h rule. This is the hash ID and then the other one is node ID. So whichever is the least value of the n, that will be used here as the root node. Okay. So find out this is the least value. So that n will be your root node. So which is going to be responsible for the key value pair whose hash is h. Whose keys hash is h. Okay. Now the problem is there can be how you will find out this distance. Now this is a modulo operation. That's a problem. So if you pick up any ring like this, you have a node here and you have a hash point here. So there are two distances. One distance is this and one distance is this. Okay. So I will be always using the smaller of the two. When they are both equal, I can use any one of them. So what will be this distance? So this distance will be n minus h plus 32 modulo 32. Now why this 32 has to be added? So we want to find out distance between 0 and 1. So obviously after 31 nothing exists, this distance has to be 1. But if you put 0 minus 31, this becomes a negative number. Okay. So because since it's a modulo operation, adding 32 should not make any difference. So far I am just essentially completing the circle and trying to keep values between 0 and 31. So that's what happens when you add 32. And since I am doing modulo 32 operation on this, if this value, the n is higher than h, that will give me a positive number. Okay, this positive, if this is positive number, plus 32, because of modulo 32, this will go off. You will only have this number. With negative, you will be having again a positive number. So 0 minus 31 will become minus 31 plus 32 is 1. 1 modulo 32 is 1. So you get 1, which is the correct value here. The other distance you can find out by reversing the parameter. So you can have 31 minus 0. And then of course you should actually add 32. And then do modulo 32. This will give you what? Modulo 32, this 32 goes off, you will have 31. So you have two distances, 1 and 32. So least of the two should be used to find out which is the closest node. Okay. So of course there cannot be any entry in between, either it will be 31 or it will be 0, because you have no number in between. These are discrete numbers, integers. Okay. So I can now decide on a distance in such a scenario as, in fact, Meghna probably has asked, she forgot to put this plus 32 when doing modulo operation. So minimum of the two has to be used as a distance metric. And this is what we do in Pestry algorithm. I will come to Pestry algorithm later. Okay. So it is equivalent of d minus h in cyclic arrangement. Okay, d minus h, which was the linear arrangement. So equivalent of that is the moment you move to cyclic arrangement. It's that. Okay. And whenever you have two nodes which are equidistant, then node with the smaller value of h minus n32, node 32, this actually can be used to break the time. Just find out this. Okay. So, or you can do it other way, n minus h plus 32 mod 32, anyway, but use it consistently all across the network. Different nodes should not use different rules. Then search will be very difficult. I have not come to the search, how you are going to search so far. Now this actually leads to something called rendezvous hashing. So rendezvous hashing is a more generalized framework. Here we say you put the node ID. I should not call it D actually. I should call it, and D is for being used for distance. This should be used as N. So node ID plus hash ID. You make a function of this. This function will give you some value, and this value need to be minimized. Okay. So technically F and H is a distance metric. Okay, is a distance metric which we have defined. One of the distance metric is this. Okay. So you can actually see consistent hashing is nothing but a special case of when you start actually using only simple distance like n minus h or some methods, but you can have a generalized formulation also. So we are technically using rendezvous hashing here. Okay. So, but this can be any arbitrary nonlinear function also. It need not be simply just finding out the doing subtraction, doing modulo operation. It can be anything complex also. So this may not be related to the Euclidean distance. Okay. Now remember, this remains a Euclidean distance on a circle. That's what we are doing. So chord algorithm, the distance metric is going to be this, and I need to find out the node whose distance from, I am using the word from, not to, from the hash ID to the node is minimum. So when it is from, it has to be subtracted from the to node ID. And I do this 32 so that because of the circular structure, if this value turns out to be negative, that can be converted to a positive thing. Okay, this become mod, but remember, you should not simply start using 32 everywhere. In actual implementation of Brihaspati 4, it is, or for that matter, a blockchain, or for that matter, Telegram, or anything else you pick up which is peer-to-peer, or TalkChat, you will end up in a much larger value instead of 32. So it will be, if it is an n-bit node ID, it will be 2 raised power n. Normally we don't use chord. Chord is not very popular. Okay. There is another algorithm which is extremely popular. I will come to that algorithm. That's I was actually, I'll come to that. What was that algorithm? I will find out the name and let you know. So if there is an n-bit address space, this is what you are going to use. Modulo will be this, and this is what will be your distance in case of a chord thing. Okay, so we have to look at now the chord. The chord, the way it is going to work, I have put these, for example, random node IDs. It's a modulo 31, modulo 32 space. So 2 will, any hash ID which is equal to 2 will be stored at 2. Okay, but 2 plus whatever is there is going to be stored at 7. So this is how the ranges are being defined. 7 is included within this. So you define the band in this fashion, because anything which is going to be 2 plus, say, which is going to be 3 here, 3 to 7 distance will be lower than 3 to 2. 3 to 2 requires full complete circle. Okay, so it will be 3 minus 2 minus 3, which is minus 1, plus 32, it will become 31 actually distance. Okay, but 3 to 7 is going to be 4. So 7 will be a responsible node because of this definition of distance. Now, any doubts so far? So in this figure, Praveen, what will be stored? What particular range will be stored at node 23? Praveen. Yeah, Ritu, what is the answer? Can you tell what range will be stored at 23 hash IDs?
Sir, so for 23.
At node 23, what all range will be stored?
Okay, sir.
Can 19 be stored at 23?
No, sir.
Okay, what about 20? Yeah, all of
Yes.
you can try to compute. 20, can it be stored at 23 or it should be stored at 19?
Sir, it will be at 23.
Right. And what about 24?
At 30.
Will be at 30.
So what is the range for with 23 will be stored where?
At 23.
At 23 only.
So what is the range which will be stored at 23?
20 to 23.
Perfect. See, this is true for every node. Okay. So I have actually, I think, yeah. Now there is one more thing which you have to understand. I have drawn these circles. Now these are not the actual links. So this one more thing. So we are using a concept of something called routing tables now. Why we require these routing tables? So far arrangement was fine, but I have to build up a system. Okay, learning all this is useless if I don't make a system, I don't engineer something which is going to be useful. So simplest routing table will be that 7 knows about the endpoint address. Endpoint address is what? Endpoint address is, so I have told about this. What is endpoint address?
IP and port number.
IP, port number, and transport. Okay, because these nodes can be behind the firewalls. So sometimes you have to use HTTP transport, sometimes TCP, sometimes UDP. So normally the preferential system is, we always tend to go for, if it is only signaling, we go for TCP where retransmission is there. Otherwise UDP, then we go for TCP, then we go for HTTP. Okay, this is the order in which we do. And if none of them are going to work, then we will start using TERN. TERN and HTTP based TERN-link can be used actually now. So in fact, before this, we will have STUN, HTTP, if that can be done. So I will talk about these two things later. This, I think some of you may not be knowing about it, except probably army officers may be knowing because they may be using it. But unless you are a computer science background or have done a course in communication networks, you may not be aware of this. So 7 knows about my next neighbor is 9. Its endpoint address is some IP address port transport so that it can talk to 9. Okay. Similarly, 7 will also have an entry for 2. So what entries will be maintained? So I am only writing the node IDs here, 9 and 2 in this routing table. And of course, the remaining part of the table will contain this whole thing. This whole thing will be maintained here. So 9 will contain, also will have a table. Now this is required physically. So depending on how many neighbors you are actually all the time maintaining, there is no actual link, remember. Whenever you want to communicate, you will set up a connection. This is not actually a physical link, this is a virtual link. Virtual link is by knowledge of the endpoint address. This may not be all the time active. Okay, this may share bandwidth with others, that is possible. Okay, but this is what we call this. Now this is a topology I have created, but this is not the actual internet topology. So I always call it a virtual topology because of this. It's being virtually created. So when I have to send some information to 19, how to send it? So 2 will find out, okay, I have to send it to 19, to whom I should forward. It can do it either this way or this way, but it will try to find out who is the closer node to 19. So 13 is not closer to 19 as per the distance metric. 7 is closer, so I will give it to 7. 7 will find out who is closer. It will, so if you always hand it over to somebody who is closer to destination, it will always become closer and closer and ultimately reach there. It will converge and reach to 19. It will take this path and reach 19. 23 want to send, it will go this way and reach 19. But because you only know these two, so routing tables are, that's the reason why you have to look at where you want to reach, and based on that you will decide. Similarly, you want to make a query of say some number, say 21 is your key. So you want to search for my phone number 7944 and you did a hash, you got 21. So at 2 node you are there. Okay. And you have to reach to 21, to whom you will be forwarding. Yeah, Anjesh. Saroj Anjesh. What do you think? So I need to go to 21. I need to find out what is the corresponding entry for 21 to whom I should hand over. The node 2 will hand over to whom? Yes, Sangram Singh. Mr. Roj is not there, I think. He's not online.
So it will go to 19, sir.
Yeah, but 2 does not have any routing table entry for 19. It has to hand it over to somebody whom it knows. So it only has 2 entries, 30 and 7.
So it will go to 30.
To 30, sir.
It has a routing table for 23 and 19 also.
Okay, so it will find out whether 21 is 7 is closer to 21 or 30 is closer to 21. Okay, and then which is closer to 21? 30. Maybe that's the reason why you are giving me this answer. So it will hand over
Yes.
that entry to 31. So 30 will also check with its routing table entries. It contains only 2 entries, which are 2 and 23. So it will say who is closer to 21. 2 is certainly not closer to 21, but 23 is. So it will give it to 23. What 23 will do? It has also 2 entries, 19 and 30. So it will check which is closer. It will say none of these are closer. He himself is the closer. So this must be the root node for the entry 21. Okay, so root node for this is 23. So this guy will now search for that data, and this query is being propagated. Okay, it has taken 2 hops. It knows who originated the query. Maybe node 2 originated it. So it knows node 2 has originated. So it can make another message, and that message can be directed to node 2. It knows from where the query originated. That has to be there in the message. So then it will check which is the closer to 2, 19 or 30. So 30 is closer to 2, so it will pass it on to 30. 30 will give it to 2. So you can actually do what we call request and response messages can be done through DHT routing. Another alternative is when 2 initiates the query, it actually gives us IP address and port number information. So 23 now can directly connect to 2 and then send the information. That is also feasible. So second one is the IP based or internet routing being used for responding. The first one is DHT routing is being used for responding. Both can be used. Okay. So normally what happens is it's a good idea to, if it's a time critical thing, always do a IP based routing based response. And also you can actually initiate a DHT routing based response also. You can give 2 responses. So we have something called a caching of these index entries. So we will come to this. This is one of the FA mechanism for increasing efficiency in Raspberry 4. Okay. So now we know this virtual topology. We know how the query will propagate. Similarly, you want to publish an entry. Okay. So publishing is also same thing, but except now this time the data which has come key value pair has to be stored in the index by the root node. And periodically it will keep on looking at whether timers have expired or not expired for each entry. We'll keep on cleaning them. Okay. The way we are doing SIP, you have to do a registration.
Sir, I have a doubt in the previous one.
Yeah.
So when you said when we were at 23 and we were looking at like 21 is closer from 30 or 19 or 23, what was the distance metric that we were using to evaluate
We are
which
using
one is?
same for distance metric, n minus h plus 32 modulo 32.
So let's say if we were to reach 20, then according to the metric, I think which one would be closer? So n would be.
I am trying to find out who is responsible for the hash ID h. Okay. So h is not the destination. So I am trying to find out n minus h plus 2 raised power n modulo 2 raised power n. I will try to find out n in my routing tables which are closer, which are as per this distance metric has a lower value.
Okay.
Okay, so when you put instead of at place of n, you put 19.
Okay.
19 minus 21, the value is very large. You put 30 minus 21, okay, it becomes 9. You put 23 minus 21, it becomes 2.
Right.
Okay, so 2 becomes, this becomes a root node. So you always, because you know these two, so you are progressing whichever is closer to the entry. So you will always take only half circle. You will never take more than half circle for reaching to an entry.
Right. Got it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now, but this is actually so far very few nodes. You are very happy with 7 nodes. Within a lab, if you do, it's okay with this kind of system. But there is a problem here. Okay. I have organized everything very perfectly, beautifully. You have 7, 9. There is nothing in between 7 and 9. There is nothing in between 9 and 15. But even when you set up in the lab, there is going to be a problem. Okay, because somebody may turn off his machine and goes lunch करने चले गए. ठीक है. Another student comes in, he turns on his laptop. So another new node is inserted, and he may pick up some random node ID. Okay, every time you turn off and turn on, you may have a different node ID. Normally, you will tend to choose the same node ID. Okay, but we have to check whether the same node ID already exists in the network. But since our node ID space is extremely sparse, we even with 160 bit, okay, I will not be using all node points. Chances of clash is extremely small. Collisions are extremely rare. It will be happening in once in 20 or 10 years kind of scenario. Okay, whenever that happens, you simply just regenerate your node ID again. That's the strategy. Okay, and you can always find out by trying to find out the root of your own node ID by asking somebody who is in the network. So you don't become part of the DHT network. You ask somebody, he will find out. If he can't find out, if he finds a root node whose node ID is different than the node ID, the hash which you are given, then you can safely use that hash as your own root node. But currently I am just simply telling you, but this is actually wrong. This is the way it will never be done. This is a very wrong practice. Never ever just simply do a rand function call and then generate a node ID. Because what can happen? My 7944, I know everybody knows by doing hash, his responsible node is going to be say 19. My hash ID turns out to be somewhere here. So, and you want to now ensure that no, I should not get any phone call. What you will do? You will just pick up a number. So my hash ID turns out to be 16. You will just pick up a number 17 and use it as your node ID. And you insert yourself in the network. Any query for 7944 will always terminate with you. And you are a rogue node. What you will do is you will give the response, this guy's entry does not exist. So I will not be getting any phone calls. So this attack is what? Rishabh. Can you explain what the attack I am talking about? Yeah. Your voice is not coming. Your microphone is turning on, but now it's coming.
Sir, identity theft.
It's not an identity theft, it's a denial of service attack. So you actually, if you can randomly, you pick up on your wings and fences, you can pick up a node ID. You can always place yourself at a critical point in the node ID space. And you can actually, now what you're doing is you're forcing the entries, the queries to you instead of somebody else who is genuine. Now, when I do a B4 design, I have to ensure this cannot happen. Okay. And I should not have only one root node, I should have multiple root nodes. Okay, I am not giving you the answer as of now how the multiple root nodes are created. Okay. But we do create multiple root nodes. We maintain currently 2, but we can maintain 3 also. We can maintain 4 also without any problem. This also gives me resilience. Okay. So I can do that. So this is a denial of service attack. So this should not be there. I will tell you later on how this node IDs are generated in our system. And for that matter, even in blockchain, the same thing happens. They also generate it randomly. You cannot arbitrarily choose your node ID. It's not possible. Your node ID is what in a blockchain? If you have studied blockchain, Shashwat, any idea about blockchain?
No, sir. Sorry, I've never worked with blockchains before.
Okay. So Ajay Chandra.
I have also not studied this before.
Okay, never studied this. Do you know public-private key pairs? PKI, public key cryptography.
Yes, sir, a little bit. I have studied.
Yes. So if you actually happen to look into, have you ever seen, for example, anybody's what we call identifier in case of a blockchain? Or you have got a mail where he says, you send me these many bitcoins, otherwise I have captured your video and I will distribute it to all your friends and relatives. So those kind of threats will come. So have you seen the ID which they actually give you? What's so unique about
No,
that ID?
sir, I have received such kind of mail, sir, and the sender was my SIM ID.
No, the Bitcoin, he must have told you to send a Bitcoin to some place.
Oh, yes, yes.
So what was the destination address of the Bitcoin? How does it look like? No, it will
It's
be
some
a random
hexadecimal
string.
string.
Yes, it's a hexadecimal string. It's a actually I say hexadecimal string of size roughly 256 bit or even larger. Actually, it's a public key. And the beautiful thing about public-private key pair is there is an algorithm called Rivest, Shamir, and Edelman. These were the gentlemen who were there in MIT. Okay, they were probably drunk one day at the night, and then they got an idea, and that's how they invented RSA algorithm. So RSA algorithm generates two keys. One is called this actually generates a string. So this being bifurcated into two parts. One is called public key, another one you can call it private key. So there is no order. You can call any one of them public, other one automatically will become private. But one you will keep with yourself, other one will become known publicly. Now this is what is your address. Okay, this is what is become your node ID in blockchain. Blockchain does not require anything else. It does not know your name. It does not know your IP address. Don't know anything. If you hold this private key with you, you can actually sell or receive. You can actually sell, then only you can make money. If you have bitcoins, you can actually only transfer it to somebody in your private key. Otherwise, you can't. So there has been cases where people have lost their private keys. So these private keys are very long. So they are stored in a key store. Key store is locked with a password. So there has been a case, the guy has forgot his password actually. Now he's not able to recall. And he has millions of dollars worth of bitcoins actually is being stored here. But the problem is he can't access his private key, so he can't transfer whatever he has associated with this public key. So it's always you look into any blockchain, blockchains actually Bitcoin blocks are published publicly. You can actually see it on the net and check there. It will be actually a public key and then how many Bitcoins are owned by him currently. So you are identified by this. Okay. So you can actually choose, you can have a one single wallet and have multiple public keys. And when you want to transfer money to somebody, you can actually transfer 1 Bitcoin from here, 2 from here, 3 from here. And you actually tell him, I am actually giving from multiple sources so that you can kind of create an anonymity. The single public key, it is never done. The wallets don't work this way now. So they have now started doing this fragmentation currently. So this public key is what becomes your node ID. We also use a similar technique here. We don't actually just pick up numbers here. Only for example, I am using it. Now I will come back to this node ID business later on. But remember, this is an issue. It should be purely random. So if you ever code any application, never ever try to just randomly pick up something. Never do that. Use RSA algorithm, generate these two, use public key to generate the node ID. And when somebody else will look at your node ID, how you will verify you have done it randomly? You do a digital signature with the private key and verify it using your well-known public key. This will never be happening unless you have both of these. And if you have both of these, they have to be random. RSA cannot, there is no mechanism by which if you know public key, you can get a private key. So they both will get at the same time. Their birth has to happen at the same time. Okay. So that's the property which is used actually. So almost whole internet-based economic system works on this principle, on the basis of this RSA keys. The moment you can find out or crack, yes.
Sir, I have one doubt. Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how these neighbors are decided? Like 2 is a neighbor of 7, 2 is a neighbor of like, how
Yeah,
to
because
decide?
if there is some new node comes in which is a node ID 5, that has to be inserted here. If a new node comes in with node ID 5, it will be inserted here. How that will be done? We are coming to that now. Okay. We call it a routing management of this topology. This has to be done all the time dynamically. We also even use a rule, if my routing table gets modified, I will now send my routing table update to all my neighbors which are listed in my routing table. Okay. And if their routing table gets updated, gets impacted by that, then the nodes will further do it. Anybody's in routing table is not impacted by received routing information from others, they will not further propagate it. But periodically you will keep on doing it. Okay. This is what we call triggered update mechanism for very fast convergence. So fast in the sense of times, not in terms of iterations. So managing routing table. So I have written here, each node sends its routing table to all neighbors. And how these neighbors are known? These are mentioned in your routing table and it has to be done periodically as a simplistic case. Normally, if you receive somebody's routing table, because if you are sending, others may be sending it to you, and your routing table gets updated, you don't wait for the period to expire before you send the update. You send it immediately in that case. That's a triggered update. Okay, this will make the things faster. So before we have been using this triggered update business. Using some may not be using, it's okay. See, your message will still reach to the right place. So far, every node is using the same definition of the distance. How he manages the table does not matter. Now,
in reality, the node IDs are not just numbers but public keys. Am I correct?
In
reality, the node IDs
they are actually also not public keys. See, problem is, for example, the public key will be 4096 bit long.
Right.
Private key is also 4096 bit long. But my node ID has to be 160 bit. So normally I am actually just, okay, I am advancing it here. So you take this public key, you compute does the hash here, get a 160 bit node ID. Okay. So if this node ID is going to be used now, when I have to present the node ID to somebody, node ID will be always written as 160 bit string, the node ID. I will then write the public key. Then I will write the hash, signed hash.
Okay.
Which is done by private key. So this signed hash is over this structure. Okay, this structure is whole thing is signed. So I can use this public key to verify whether by hashing I get 160 bit. Using public key I can verify the signed hash. It has been done. There was indeed a public and private key pair which was generated. This actually means this has to be random. If this is random, the hashing is generated as 160. This also has to be random. So I've ensured that it's a random node ID. So that's the way we have been using, and my guess is most likely everybody is using the same thing, except probably blockchain. Blockchain is using full public key itself as the node ID.
So this whole tuple will be called as the node ID. So
Yes.
triplet together.
Yeah, triplet we call it, or n tuple we call it.
And since these are not like numbers, these are more of like strings. So how do we make an order between them? Like which one is less than the other or greater than the
No,
other?
there is no order. There is no order. Now I will come to that. Yeah.
Okay.
So you are talking about arrangement in the ring.
Yes. How do we arrange them? Because in numbers we could see we were arranging them in the order.
Yeah. Now
of...
I'm coming to here. So let's take a case. There is a same node ID, but there are incorrect routing tables. Okay. This is a chaos now. Will it get ordered? The question is this. See that I have only so far given you one rule. You send your routing tables to all your neighbors which are mentioned in routing table. So on receipt of the routing table, okay, whenever you will receive the routing table, each node will replace its routing table's entries with the more suitable ones. If you can actually find out from the others something which is more suited, you will replace it. Okay. So everybody will start updating their routing tables periodically this way, and they will all converge. Okay, there will be no oscillatory behavior. This is a first order system. Okay, you can model it like a first order. I have not done it, but I know intuitively it's going to be first order. It will always converge. Oscillations can't happen. But this rule itself is not good enough. I'm going to show you a case where actually you will get stuck with the incorrect entries if you don't add another rule. And after that, it is going to most likely will operate. When I come to chord algorithm, there is still one more complexity which comes in. So this is the incorrect routing table. Perfect. So remember, these arrows means 29 has an entry for 0 and 0 has an entry for 29. This is what it means when double arrow is there. If there is only one arrow, so there is a case, for example, there is one arrow. So 25 has an entry for 3, but 3 does not have an entry for 25. So every node can have only 2 outgoing arrows. That's what it means if it is a circular structure. But this can go haywire actually. Let's see what happens. So after first step, every node has broadcasted its routing table to the neighbors. So 29 has a routing table entry of 0 and 3. So it has informed about to 0, about 3 and about 0. That's it. Okay, so after first broadcast, so let everybody has done it. So while I was solving it, I did it one by one. So just doing the same way. So 0 will come to know from 20 about 9 and 0. So 0 is immaterial, 0 knows about itself. So it comes to know about 9, it comes to know about 3. Okay. So the moment 0 comes to know about 3, it has an entry 29 and 20. So what options are there with 29 now? 29 has an option of 0, 3, okay, 20, and I'm talking about 29 now. So let's start with this. So 29 knows about 0, 20. It knows about 3 and 5. Only these entries. So 29 will have to choose among these in a cyclic fashion. So 29 will find out what we call the to and from distance. Which one of the node from which the distance to 29 is minimum. So it will be 20, obviously. Okay. And which one of the node is to whom the distance from 29 is minimum, that will obviously be 0. Okay. So what happens? I have got 29 to this arrow is being put and this arrow has been put. So there is an entry update after first exchange. Now doing the same thing with 0. 0 get to know about 3. It already knows about itself. It knows about 29. Okay. It will come to know about 20 and 9. So from which node the distance to 0 is going to be minimum? It is 29. So 0 to 29, this arrow has come in. Okay. And from 0 to whom, which will be the closest distance, it will be 3, obviously. So it has now created an entry 3. So there is a change here. So I have done for 0 also now. Now let's look at 3. 3 will get an entry information about It already knows about 5 and 29, so it will get to know about 25. It will get to know about 0. 5, 25, sorry, not 25. 5 and 29 are already there. It will get to know about 25 and 0. So which node is to whom 3 is closest in this case? It will be 5. It remains as it is, so it is intact. And from whom the 3 will be closest? It will be 0 obviously. So it will now going to make an entry to 0. This 3 to 29 is gone. So entries got updated here. Okay. So you can keep on updating. So I should probably disregard this gone. This will be, these are gone, 0 and 20. So in this case, it will be 25 is gone, 21 is 9 is gone. It's 5 and 3. Okay, I got this. So similarly, you do at 5. So 5 will get to 9 and 3. You can actually, you have to solve it. Then 9 will similarly will get 20 and something. But now what happens with 25? 25 will come to know of, so 20, when it comes to know of the information, 20 will come to know of 9, about 25 and 29. So 20 will know about 9, 25, 0 and 29. So 20 is closer from 9. So this remains as it is. This one will come up. Okay, this one. Yeah, this one should, a put entry will be there. And from 20, which is closer, is going to be 25. So it makes an entry for this one. Perfectly fine. Okay. So 20, so this, there is no entry now for 20 to 0. That is gone. What happens to 25? 25 will come to know of 20. It knows about already 9. It 5, and it will know about 3. So 25 will be having a entry which is from 20 it is closest, so it will actually make an entry here. It will make another entry for 3. So these guys are there. Now after this, you keep on doing it second broadcast, it will still remain the same. Okay, it will still remain the same. It does not matter. Because my rule is 3 has only entry above 5 and 3 is only updates 3 and 5. It will never tell us to 25 above 0. So whatever is there in your routing table as per my rule, send your routing table to all the neighbors as mentioned in the routing table. Now this actually is not going to be good enough for you to operate the system. It will never stabilize. It may have incorrect routing table entries. So you now set up another rule. So any doubts? Mullah, do you agree with this or not? So let's change the rule now. When someone will send a copy of routing table to you, you immediately respond, you acknowledge by sending a copy of your own routing table to him. Okay. So once you add this rule, you were actually stuck in this situation. 3 was never sending the information to 25. 25 will keep on getting information only from 20 about 9. And it knows that there is a 3, so it will keep on maintaining 3. It will never come to know of this. It will never connect to 29. Okay. And this 29 keeps on sending information to 20. But 20 will keep on locking onto this because it is sending only entries to the nodes which are there in the routing table. You update now new rule, what will happen? Whenever 25 will send the information to 3, 3 will send the information about 0 and 5. It will point here. Whenever this 20 will come, a request goes to 20, is sending a RT table update. 20 will send its update back. It will come to know of 25. So it will connect to 25. This will connect to 0. and next step, they will all get repaired. You will have a cycle. So everything has got organized. So follow these rules and everything will get organized into this circular fashion. Okay, I think that gives the answer how the maintenance is happening. Or can you see any lacuna in this system? So for that matter, because I am using distance metric, the guys who have to be just my predecessor or successor, we call it a predecessor and successor. If you maintain this information, this we also call it as a. So in fact, how you will find out that you are responsible for something, you will see that whether the hash ID lies between the predecessor, it has to be greater than predecessor and less than or equal to your own node ID. Okay, less than or equal to current node ID. Then you are the root node. That's the root node identification also. So that's a leaf set. So far you follow this rule, you will always be able to repair the algorithm system. Now let's see how you are going to add a new node. So I have generated a case here. We are going to follow the same those two rules. So node ID 11 has been generated. So some new node has come in and he only knows about 29. I call it a bootstrap node. So in any, because there are no servers in any system, but I have to still publish some bootstrap nodes to initiate somebody who does not have any information. He does not know anybody in the network. So then you need a bootstrap node. These are publicly available nodes. Is a broadcasted one, so you always get attached to them. Normally what happens is you are already in the network, you will maintain some table, you go off, maybe after 8-9 hours, you again come back and turn it on. First thing which your node should do is, software should do is actually should ping all the nodes which are already listed in your routing table, which was there at the time of your closure. So even if one of them is going to be alive, so you will just hang on to that, and from there you can build up, can enter into the whole network again, and very fast convergence will happen. But this convergence actually is slow. This is not fast. Here number of nodes are less. That's why you are very happy that we can do in very few steps. But if these numbers is say 10 millions, then what is going to be the time required is going to be huge. It's not that easy then. But we'll actually reduce it, reduce the total requirement. So even for 1 million, I will not be requiring not more than 5 or 6 hops. Okay. So for 2 raised power 64 nodes, I require only 64 such steps before I converge onto the routing table. If it's a binary system. So if I do ternary partitioning or quaternary partitioning, or maybe base 16 or 16 level partitioning, then it becomes still faster. So log 16 of 16n can be done in Tapestry, for example. So Tapestry log 16 of n. In those many steps, you will always be converging your routing table. Now these numbers you can obviously, by observing, you can guess. Well, I need not prove it actually. But yeah, you can prove it. This should be a simple proof. That's my guess. I have never tried it, but I think it should be simple. Because I can see it there directly. So 11 has to be now connecting to a bootstrap node 29. So what 29 will do? Because 11 is sending, 11 contains only no routing table entry. So it sends an empty routing table to 29. It only will be having one entry, which is 29. That's it. Because that's a bootstrapping node. You always start your routing table entry by populating it bootstrap nodes, node ID. So it knows 29's IP address, port number, and something, sends a message to him. 29 will send the routing table. It says 0 and 25. 11 will immediately figure out I am. So whether 11 to 12 is closer or 11 to 0 is closer. Okay. So it has to either actually figure out that. So yeah, I think I have drawn it. Wrong. Okay. So it has to now decide 11 will come to know of 29. There is, I think I have made it wrong here. 0 and 25. It knows now about these three nodes. So it has to find out a predecessor and a successor. So from which node 11 will be easily reachable? So 0 to 11 it is possible, is the closest, and 11 to whom, which is closest? 11 to 25. So I have done it right. So 0 and 25, so 29 will be out. So this will be the new routing table here entries. Okay. So this will become 0 and 25 entry will be there. So this will be the table. So next time it will send about 0 and 25 to both of them, and as well as own information. So when it sends the information, 0 will tell about 3 and 29. So now 11 knows about 0, 11 knows about 25, 11 will come to know of 3, and 11 will come to know of 20. So now once it comes, so from whom 0 will be closer? It's closer from 3, obviously. And to whom it is, which one is the closest from 11? Obviously 20. So these two are out.
29 will also be the list, right?
Yeah.
0 will also send about 29.
Yeah, 0 will send about 29. 0 will send about 329. Right, you are right. You are right. So 29 will come from both sides. 20, 29, 3, 29, 0 and 25 are already there. Okay. There will be 4 more nodes. So here actually 29 is being repeated twice. You are right. So only 3 and 20 will be picked up. So next time, again now 3 will give the information. 11 already knows about 3 and 20. So I keep the earlier ones. 3 will tell about 5 and 0. 20 will tell about 9 and 25. So it will try to find out from which node 11 is closest. So it will say, okay, from 9, 11 is closest. So this will be picked up. From 11, which one is closest? So 20 is closest. So rest everything will be now removed. So 9 and 20. Okay. So it will just make that entry. And once it actually sends the information to 9 and 20, so 20, these guys are also going to doing the same thing, same exercise. So they will just remove their link and they will now connect in this fashion. 11 has been inserted at the right place in the array. Okay. But remember, if there are n nodes, the number of steps required is actually n by 2 on an average. So it's a linear scaling. So roughly n by 2 steps will be required if you are actually has to be placed diametrically opposite in that topology. Okay. If it is not diametrically opposite, then of course it will be much faster. So the complexity will be O n, time complexity. So this is how the nodes will get added. Similarly, if the node gets deleted, then what is going to happen? Node exiting from the ring. So we can try that. So maybe same ring I can keep. Yeah. So I will keep the same thing I will draw. $11 has come now, 20, 25 and 29. So it is 0, 3, 5, 9, 11, 20, 25, 29. Okay. And I will solve this problem of time complexity actually by using what we call partitioning. In fact, this is a very special case of in general tapestry, I should call it. Okay. But it is using a different distance metric. Tapestry uses a different distance metric. So we have this thing, and I am not putting double arrows. So double arrows means the routing table entries. Okay, let me put it. Now some node has to go away. So let's see 3 goes away, then what happens? Okay, so this is now going away. So once 3 goes away, so next time 0 will not be having any information. It has only about 0 won't get anything from 3. 3 is not communicating. 0 only get information about next time step. So 0 gets information from about 29 and 25, not about 3. So nothing, no other information is there. So it has only knowing about, earlier it was knowing 3 and 29. So 3 is out because it has died. It now knows about only 25, which is coming from 29's broadcast. So what will happen? So it has to find out how to connect. So there is an interesting topology which comes in. And this will also get repaired. It's not that it won't. So now it knows only about 25. So it says 0 to 25. It will create an entry here. Okay, it will create an entry here also. 29 will remain as it is because it does not get any other option. It's still the best. And what will happen to 5? 5 will get information about 9 and 11. So it will now point to 11. So because as a rule now they will get a routing table from 11. So in the next time step, this 11, rest everything will remain same. It will start pointing to 20 because that become a better option. This will also start pointing towards 20. So 20 will tell about now 25. So now they both are actually hopping around, moving around in circles. So it will come here. So it will come here. Okay, in next time step again further they will change. So it will ultimately connect here, and this will connect here. And the next step, yeah, they got repaired. But the bad part of this design is complexity again is O(n). You require exactly n steps to get it repaired, the circle. So we are stuck with this situation. But this actually does get repaired so far you follow those 2 rules. You can always maintain this circular thing. And of course, search and publish both will require larger time. So next week we will next class will look into how to create a faster search here. So what technique we use, call it actually finger tables. So these are called finger tables. Okay. And we will still maintain these rules which I have mentioned, and there will be one more additional rule which also has to come in now. Okay. Once I talk about finger tables, I will come to that picture. So I have things there. One is called finger tables plus a leaf set. So minimum leaf set will be predecessor and successor. In fact, we can also have a mechanism. The problem here which happened is every node was only maintaining one predecessor and one successor. So if you make an algorithm where every node maintains 2 predecessor and 2 successor, the problem will get actually resolved. Or even 2 successors and 1 predecessor, or 2 predecessor and one successor, the problem will be, this problem can be resolved immediately almost. It won't be requiring n time steps in that case. So maybe you can try doing that with two predecessor and one successor, or two successor, one predecessor, or two predecessor, two successor. Okay. So predecessor and successor combinations, you can try this. Okay, you don't have to worry about finger tables. You should be able to solve this problem even without this. Okay, so with that we close now, and we will be meeting now in the night, 8 o'clock. Okay, and we will have a quiz one at that time. I will give you half an hour, solve it, and then submit it. Okay, this will also be there on the app. So if you have not installed the app, kindly do that. On Android phone, it is going to work. So this way testing will also get done. Okay, so their paper I will upload beforehand, and it will be there in your phone encrypted, but it will be decrypted only at 8 o'clock. Okay, hello, thank you. So any questions?
Excuse me. Yes, sir. What would be the weightage of the quiz?
So every quiz is 10 marks. I will keep on taking quizzes. Ultimately, I will just do the averaging to get the whatever is the marks allocated for the quiz.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So all quizzes are compulsory. Okay.
सर अजीत हियर
हाँ अजीत,
सर आज क्विज भी है एंड उनका अटेंडेंस रिकॉर्ड भी मेंटेन करना होता है, तो मेरे पास सर सबका डेटा नहीं है, तो अगर वो ग्रुप पे नाम और रोल नंबर शेयर करते हैं जो भी क्रेडिट लिया है जिन लोगों ने, तो
मैं अभी तुमको भेज देता हूँ जो रजिस्ट्रेशन डाटा है, रजिस्टर्ड स्टूडेंट का ही करना है, वो मैं तुमको भी भेज देता हूँ, पिंगला से डाउनलोड करके भेजता हूँ। ठीक है, अब तो खाली ड्रॉप हो गया, ऐड अब किसी का नहीं होगा, खाली ड्रॉप ही हो सकते हैं।
ओके सर,
ठीक है, तो मैं भेज दूंगा, उसमें से खाली अब माइनस होंगे तो इफ एनीबॉडी ड्रॉप्स आउट।
यस यस, वो क्विज के मार्क्स वगैरह भी एंटर। ओके सर,
हाँ राइट, आई एम सेंडिंग द एक्सेल शीट।
ओके सर, यस।